investigation. Always trust your gut. Stay paranoid.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Champagne. You are listening to Residue, a true crime podcast dedicated to keeping you paranoid. On December 22nd, 1989, the holiday season was shattered by an unimaginable crime. In what seemed like a perfect, peaceful home, a family of four was brutally murdered. A tragedy that left the community in shock and horror. A Christmas-time massacre that turned a festive season into one of the darkest moments in a town's history. This is the story of the Harris family. Dryden, New York. Is it really the village of the damned? Okay, first off, Village of the Damned, really? For years, rumors have swirled about Dryden, New York being a town with a dark and mysterious past. For decades, Dryden has been referred to as the Village of the Damned. But for the people who call it home, this portrayal feels like a slap in the face. To the locals, Dryden is more than just a small, quiet, cursed town. Dryden is a community where neighbors help each other, where families have lived for generations, and where traditions of resilience and hard work run deep. The residents are proud of their history, their strong connection, their commitment to small-town values that are often misunderstood or overlooked by those who don't take the time to really understand Dryden, New York. Between 1989 and 1997, a series of horrific, and I am telling you, horrific events occurred in Dryden. A docuseries was created in 2017 titled Village of the Damned. This aired on Investigation Discovery, and the town of Dryden was not too happy about this series. According to an article in the Ithaca Journal in 2017, the Dryden officials were offended by the docuseries, saying that it exploits tragic deaths for entertainment. Dryden Deputy Supervisor Dan Lamb said, "Frankly, I'm disgusted with the sloppy sensationalism that infuses this production. If anything is damned, it's the way the media contrived a label for those unrelated tragedies and continues to feed a myth of its own creation." Dryden Town Supervisor Jason Leifer was also quoted as saying, "I heard the producers botched simple facts in order to sensationalize these tragic events, so it is neither a fair nor factual portrayal of the events. Even if the producers were able to get the facts right, the production is in poor taste because its sole aim is to profit off of the victims and their families. Dryden is a beautiful town, and calling it the Village of the Damned is insulting. Investigation Discovery should be ashamed of themselves for airing this." Dryden, New York is a small village and town located in Tompkins County in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. It's situated near Ithaca, which is famous for being home to Cornell University and Ithaca College. And the area is well known for its natural beauty, including lakes, gorges, and state parks. The village itself is rural, but offers a variety of small-town amenities with a population of just over 2,000 people. December 22nd, 1989 feels like a day suspended in a quiet stillness for the people of Dryden. The cold, sharp air of winter embraced the town that day. The atmosphere was filled with the anticipation of Christmas just a few days away. The Harris family was home, feeling warm and cozy in their home with the scent of pine from the freshly cut Christmas tree standing proudly in their living room, its lights twinkling in an array of red, green, and gold For this family, December 22nd is a day of final preparations before the holiday rush reaches its peak. Dodie Harris, age 41, and her two children, Shelby, age 15, and Marc, age 11, were cozied up at home, decorating, having some family time, and they were awaiting the arrival of Dodie's husband, Warren, age 39. It is the following morning, Saturday, December 23rd. New York State Trooper John Bino is dispatched to a home because a neighbor hears an alarm going off nonstop. This is the home of the Harris family. Trooper John Bino is not worried. This is a small, quiet town. Nothing bad ever happens. He's just assuming that somebody needs help with their alarm. Maybe somebody wasn't home and their alarm was going off, something as simple as that. When John Bino arrives to the Harris family home, he could hear a constant beeping coming from inside of the house. He goes inside of the home and figures that someone must have had an accident. They left the home in a rush, they had to get to the hospital, and now the alarm is going off. He's looking around and he can smell gasoline from the living room. In the living room, a gasoline can is sitting on the floor. The trooper then lifts up the landline phone and realizes that the phone lines were cut and they were pulled out of the wall. This is when he starts to worry. He makes his way upstairs. He enters the master bedroom, cannot turn the lights on, they won't work. In the dimly lit room, the officer is now going to see the remains of 3 victims. The 3 bodies that were found were Dodie Harris, her husband Warren Harris, and their 11-year-old son, Marc Harris. All 3 bodies were charred, and all 3 bodies had a pillowcase tied around their head, with 1 bullet to the back of each person's head. Trooper John Bino would say that these are the first murder victims that he has ever come across in his entire career. Down the hall in a separate room, officers would find the body of Shelby Harris, age 15. 15-year-old Shelby was separated from her family. She was sexually assaulted. She was tied up with the ribbons from her prom dress. She was shot and she was burned. This would be the worst crime in the 72-year history of the Dryden Police Department and many detectives' first homicide case. There were no prints. There was no hair. Detectives would say that this crime scene was most likely cleaned up by a professional cleaner. That is how hard it was to find any evidence at all in this home. There were more than 50 troopers and investigators on this case right away. The whole town is scared. They are terrified. An entire family was just executed days before Christmas in their small, quiet town. Dodie's sister, Sharon Groman, would say, "It was hard to try and understand the kind of fear that they experienced in those moments. Friends, family, community members are all trying to wrap their brain around something that you can't even imagine. This was a living nightmare." The community was immediately concerned because police weren't getting anywhere. In fact, the only lead police had was a neighbor telling them that as she drove home the night before the Harris murder, she was driving up a steep hill in a snowstorm. It was very snowy that night. You could barely see. And she noticed that someone was riding a bicycle up the hill, which she found odd because why are you riding a bicycle in this weather? So she slowed down a bit to see if she could give them a ride. It's a small town. She might know who it is. But the neighbor says as she passed this bicyclist, she said the person was wearing a parka, so you could barely see who they were, but she got a little look at his face and she could see that it was a black male, which in her words, she said she found quite odd because there weren't that many black people in the town of Dryden at this time. Another neighbor is going to come forward and tell police that he saw the same man at Dodie's front door that day. And this is where I just have to stop the story for a moment to give you some thoughts. I watched the documentary, and I have to say, it threw me off quite a bit because almost all of it was entirely dramatized, fictionalized, because we do not know what happened on that night of December 22nd, 1989. And I'm going to be honest with you, after researching this case, after trying to find any new information, I am not entirely convinced that they got the right suspect. Now, I'm not saying they did not get the right guy. I'm just saying that I am not entirely convinced. Now, this is a horrendous tragedy. Nightmarish, horrific. Police are on the move. They need to find a suspect and they need to find someone quick. This is the first time that many of these police officers had even seen a homicide case. So, they do come up with a name, and that name is Michael King. The neighbor who saw the man riding up the hill on the bike is going to give police a description. They're going to have flyers put all over town of this person's description. People will be calling in tips, and one of the names that is called in is Michael King. Michael King's mother, Shirley King, is also going to be a name that comes through on the tip line, and that is because several sales clerks in Ithaca, in Oswego, in Syracuse saw Shirley King using the Harris family credit cards at shops right before Christmas. In fact, she was seen buying 2 pairs of sneakers, a TV, and a $500 pair of diamond earrings. Michael King also had an outstanding warrant for robbery, and he had a history of armed robbery. His mother, Shirley King, was a maid and a desk clerk at a bed and breakfast. And if you remember, the police said whoever committed this crime had to be a professional cleaner. So the police figure now, well, Shirley must have helped her son Michael do this since she's a maid at a bed and breakfast. My thought on that is this, though. How did Shirley get there? If Michael rode a bicycle to commit this crime, he ripped the phone lines out of the wall. There were no cell phones back in 1989. And then he somehow called his mother and had her get to Dryden, New York. And did she ride a bike too? I'm just really confused about that part. So the police are theorizing that Michael did this on his own. He went in, he killed the family, he sexually assaulted the teenage daughter, and then he called his mom for help, and she came in to clean up the scene. This theory seems very plausible to the police officers, and it's the best time to come up with 2 suspects, and they're about ready to end this case and put someone in jail for this, thankfully, because the town is now on edge with another crime that has just happened. On February 2nd, 1990, 2-year-old Eliza Mae Bush is going to go missing in the town of Dryden. A 911 call is going to come in from Eliza's mother saying, "My daughter's missing. She just walked out the door. I don't know where she is." In its 72-year history as a police department, they have never seen anything like the Harris family murders. And now, within 2 months from those murders, they now get a call saying that a 2-year-old girl is missing. People in this community are losing their damn minds at this point. There are some people that even believe whoever killed the Harris family must have kidnapped this 2-year-old girl, Eliza Mae Bush. It is now 5 days after 2-year-old Eliza Mae Bush has gone missing. It is February 7th, 1990. This is 46 days after the murders of the Harris family. Police are now going to the apartment of Shirley and Michael King. In this apartment lives Shirley, her son Michael, and then Michael's girlfriend and their baby. Police will enter this apartment ready to arrest Michael King, but as they enter the apartment, Michael King, sitting in his bedroom alone, takes a shotgun and shoots himself. Police will arrest his mother, Shirley King, and she will admit to using those credit cards, but she does not admit to being in that home before or after that crime was committed. Still, Shirley King will go to trial for the murder of the Harris family. During Shirley King's trial, Trooper David Harding takes the stand. David Harding says he found a fingerprint on a gas can in that house, the same gas can that Trooper John Bino saw the first day that he entered the Harris home. David Harding holds this can up in court and shows the jury. He's very proud of himself. He knows that whole home was wiped clean. Police didn't find one piece of evidence. He says after more investigating, he's the one that found that fingerprint on that gas can, and that fingerprint did in fact belong to Shirley King. Even though Michael King has died by suicide, the police did link the gun he used to the gun used at the Harris family home, and the ballistics matched. And now his mother, Shirley King, has a fingerprint on a gas can that also matches. So the jury finds Shirley King guilty. The judge says that she is allowed to stand up and say anything that she wants. And Shirley stands up and says, "I guess justice is just going to have to wait for another day." And that day does come in 1991 when State Police Officer David Harding, the same man who sat on that stand and said that he found Shirley King's fingerprints on a gas can, he put an application in to work at the CIA. And during this application interview process, he was given a lie detector test. One of the questions that was asked was if he had ever fabricated evidence in a case to get charges of a guilty verdict. And Harding said, yes. David Harding would later admit to lifting Shirley King's fingerprint from a glass and then placing that fingerprint on the same gas can that was found inside of the Harris home. This was the evidence that convicted her of the arson charge. So, Shirley King was exonerated. Shirley would be released from prison, and in September 2015, Shirley King died a free woman. An investigation revealed that several state police officers had been involved with falsifying evidence. This would be called the New York State Police Troop C scandal, which involved the fabrication of evidence by members of the New York State Police, which was used to convict suspects in central New York. Officers involved had falsified evidence in around 34 different cases. David Harding would receive a 4.5-year sentence, and he was fined $20,000 for his role in at least 4 of these cases. When Michael King killed himself, the people of Dryden thought that he might have taken the secrets of where Eliza Mae Bush was with him. Eliza's mother, Christine, received a letter in the mail containing only one small child's mitten. Another horrifying mystery was about to hit the people of Dryden, New York. The town could not escape the creeping realization that perhaps the worst was yet to come. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Residue. I hope you will join us next week for part 2. Residue is created, hosted, produced, researched, and edited by Chrissy Champagne. That's me. Don't forget to follow Residue on your preferred listening platform. That way, you will be able to join us back here every Tuesday. You can also follow Residue on Instagram at Residue Podcast, Facebook, Residue, a True Crime Podcast, TikTok, Residue Podcast. If you're feeling extra sweet this holiday season, don't forget to leave a 5-star review. That really is the easiest way to help out the show. I hope that you all have the greatest, safest, loveliest holiday season, and I know that you will all remember to stay safe and stay paranoid.